Opposition forces in Syria take control of Syrian capital Damascus. Ghana's 2024 elections, ruling party's presidential candidate concedes defeats, results to be announced officially. Federal government tasks youths on innovative ideas in shaping Nigeria's development drive. Hello and welcome to the News Desk at 3 on Nta News24. We're live in Abuja. I am Dennis Adegunloye. We begin with the developing story in Syria. The country experienced 13 years of war and hundreds of thousands of people have lost their lives, as well as millions being displaced. The rule of President Bashar al-Assad has now been toppled, and crowds have converged on the streets of Damascus to celebrate the opposition who took control of the Syrian capital. Media reports say the opposition stated that they will set up a new transitional government. Syria's prime minister says he is ready to hand over government to the opposition when he made his address on the country's national television. But media sources report that he did not say the president has left the country. In the meantime, public affairs expert Jide Ojo joins me now to share his thoughts on this developing story in the Middle East. Glad to have you join us, Mr. Jide, on the News Desk at 3.
It's my pleasure. Good afternoon.
All right. What have been your initial reactions to this momentous developments in the Middle East country of Syria?
It's a situation that is unfolding, but it also speaks to the fact that nothing lasts forever. Bashar al-Assad's family have held Syria by the jugular for 50 years. The father, Hafiz, and then Bashar, the younger one, who has been at the helm of affairs for 14 years since the year 2000. And under his regime, there has been repression, oppression, clamping of opposition to jail, killing and maiming people. Syria became a country that is engulfed in intractable war. There are perhaps millions of internally displaced persons, average of about 500,000 people murdered in this civil war. And this is more like a climax of this sectarian civil war, particularly under the son, Bashar al-Assad, in the last 14 years. He has received support from the Russia and Iran in time past, which has helped him to stave off the rebels. But as it has emerged, Russia currently is enmeshed in its own war with Ukraine, and Iran is also facing onslaught from Israel. And as such, they could not muster the needed resources to protect Bashar al-Assad, to keep him in power for their own use. So the Syrian crisis is multidimensional, is ethno-religious, it is political, it is economic, and you could see earlier today, when the rebels, who in the last 10 days have been on the march to Damascus, when they got to Damascus earlier today, they were received with open arms by the people. Many thought it was not going to happen in their lifetime, because when you have a family reigning in what is not supposed to be a monarchical system. For 50 years, there are people who are 50 years old in Syria who have never known anyone again beyond the Assad family in power. And as has been said, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So my own reaction is that it's still unfolding, but obviously with Bashar al-Assad out of the way, he has more or less considered defeat by running out of the country. That has been confirmed by the Russian government that Assad has left. And what is most important now is how would there be a smooth transition by the rebels forming government. And what has just happened in Syria was reminiscent of what happened in Afghanistan a couple of years ago, when the Taliban also chased away the government in Afghanistan and took over the reins of government. It's also reminiscent of what happened in Sudan under, Omar al-Bashir, who was also pushed out by the military before we now have another protracted civil war in that country.
All right, just lastly, what would you say is the fate of Syria now? Are there the hopes for a smooth transition realistic? Just briefly, please.
It all depends on the smooth transition is not impossible, and it's realistic, provided the international interferences that has happened over the decades does not happen. Because what we need to understand is that Syrian crisis is not endogenous. It also have international interference on the part of some powers outside of the country. Like I explained to you, we have had intervention and support of propping up al-Assad by the Russian and the Iranian governments. So if these external forces are not interested in who becomes the next president, it might be very easy to have a successor to Bashar al-Assad. But it will not be more dependent on the rebel forces, who I hope they will have a very smooth transition, because it's not just one rebel force. There are a coalition of forces that were responsible for this victory, and they need to put the interest of the ordinary Syrians at heart in the coming days and weeks, so that we will have a smooth transition. But like I said, it is possible, provided that there is a unity of purpose among the rebel forces. On the side of the government forces, they are not going to pose a serious threat, and I'm sure that there will be arrest and detention of some of the key allies of Bashar al-Assad. But it will be very important for the rebels to learn from the mistakes of al-Assad's family in forming a new government. And they need to release all the people who have been held wrongfully in detention camps. They need to release them, all the prisoners of conscience, as well as ensure that those who are in IDP camps are reunited with their families now that Bashar al-Assad is no longer in power.
All right, Jide Ojo, many thanks for giving us your analysis of this unfolding story in Syria. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Do keep safe, and compliments of the season.
Same to you. Now, following Ghana's presidential election, Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia, the ruling party's presidential candidate, has conceded defeat in the elections and congratulated former President John Mahama. In a concession speech, Mr. Bawumia, the candidate of the New Patriotic Party, stated that internal data from his party indicates that the opposition National Democratic Congress has secured victory in both the presidential and parliamentary polls. Although the Ghana Electoral Commission is yet to officially announce the results, supporters have taken to the streets in jubilation. And earlier we were joined by Paul Ejime, an international affairs analyst and election observer, who gave us his views on the Ghana's political landscape. Could you give us any insight into anything exceptional or different that you might have observed during the electoral process?
Well, there were a few things. For instance, there were no public rallies as such. Even though the two parties had their rallies on the 5th, the final day. What is trending in Ghana is what they call door-to-door campaigning. They call it retail campaigning. Another, word in phrase in the political or electoral lexicon. And there were questions as to, is it that they are afraid of not, when there is allegations of vote buying, is it that what they cannot bring out in public that they are now giving them to the voters in secret? But that's, there's nothing you do in politics without, reaction or response. But that is one thing that has been there. Another is that the two candidates are from the same region, the northern region. Mahama is a Christian, and then Vice President Mahamudu Bayuma is a Muslim. So ethnicity is taken to the down front, and then this is testing Ghana's religious tolerance, as it were. And so these are the issues, and economy, corruption, security, education, particularly the economy, the performance. There is really hardship everywhere in Africa. So the government is saying, well, it's not it's a global thing, so they are not to blame. But we wait to see whether ordinary Ghanaians will, the voters will believe the opposition that this government is the cause, and vote for us, and then we will change the situation.
We'll watch this space. Mr. Paul Ejime, many thanks for giving us your insights on the process there in Ghana. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Let's now take a quick break. More reports in a moment. Welcome back. The federal government is asking Nigerian youths to leverage innovation, creativity and hard work to harvest the deliverables of President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda on youth development. Vice President Kashim Shettima, in a message through his technical advisor on women, youths, engagement and impact, Hawa Liman, gave the advice during the 60th anniversary of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, as other leaders at the event, including the council's president and chief of staff to the River State Governor, Edison Ehie, challenged youth to embrace skills acquisition, ICT, and shun acts of violence, acknowledging government efforts at providing startup packs and an enabling environment for SMEs.
Your voices are heard, your contributions are valued, and your future is being shaped by the decisions you influence today. The path ahead demands courage, but I am confident in our collective ability to rise to the occasion. So let us build a Nigeria where every young person has the opportunity to thrive, contribute, and lead.
God, at this time, has chosen to bless us with a youth as governor of Rivers State. This is one man who has, at every point, shown that he believes in the values of the youth, the strength of youth, and gender equality.
I charge Nigerian youths to look beyond what they call white-collar job, to focus on skills, and we should grow in technology to impact in our life.
Tax reform bills currently before the National Assembly are gaining wider acceptability, and as civil society organizations, clerics, the academia and public relations practitioners have endorsed the process of reforming tax laws and administration in the country. The conversation agreed on the need to repeal obsolete laws which impede tax administration. Surajo Abdullahi reports that the consensus among speakers at the just concluded annual general meeting of the Kaduna chapter of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations is an endorsement of the federal government's efforts to reinvigorate the nation's economy.
This is a platform created by the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, Kaduna State Chapter, with participants from the civil society organizations, religious and traditional institutions, including the academia in attendance. Kaduna, the Center of Learning, is the first to host this kind of forum on tax reform bill, with a similar engagement expected to take place across the country. The government image maker led the discussion to educate the people about the intention of the tax reform bill and assured Nigerians that the Tinubu administration will not promote policies that will undermine the ideals of participatory democracy.
All over the world, effective taxation is important as a source of financial power for governments to provide social services for their citizens. However, there is plenty of reason to believe and assert that Nigeria's tax administration system has become long overdue for reform on account of design and implementation flaws, as well as the general attitude of taxpayers towards taxation itself. President Tinubu has also been very clear that the executive will listen to and work with all stakeholders to ensure that all concerns are duly and comprehensively addressed.
He also shared his view on effective taxation as a crucial policy that is required to sustain the government's renewed vigor towards ongoing economic and infrastructural rebirth.
We have provided this platform as a credible avenue for us to ventilate our views across board, to listen to what this tax reform is all about, and then to take input from the public.
Who has been feeding you tells you to go out and feed yourself. It is an opportunity for you to discover the possibility and the greatness that is docile in your life for a very long time.
The debate about tax and tax reform should be centered on more about how it affects people than dividing people at a regional line, religious line, or whatever line. I think
two things. One, stimulating the national discourse. So for a long time, Nigerians are only made to smile whatever they want, so this is a very positive thing.
Other speakers and panelists commended government bold decisions towards sustainable economic transformation. In Kaduna, Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
In a world where relationships shape our experiences and outcomes, a pair of new books offer timely insight into building meaningful connections. Rising Through Relationships and The Queen That You Are the latest works from Oluchi, Kate and Nta. Ibrahim Dan Hamidu takes a closer look at these thought-provoking books.
As we delve into the pages of Rising Through Relationships and The Queen That You Are, the words echo a profound truth. Every thread of connection reveals a facet of our soul, and every knot of conflict tests the resilience of our character.
I have seen young people that tell me, I fight with my mother, this, that, I don't talk with anybody. Why? Because we don't know how to connect with ourselves. And it's not getting better.
Guest speakers at the event praised Oluchi, Kate Anna's work, noting its relevance to contemporary society.
The relationship that we build today
is not because we want to get something from others. It is because we want to develop a symbiotic relationship. And I was saying to myself, I said, I imagine if this book has been written some 50 years ago, do you know I would have had far less sex workers in the slum.
Book reviewers also shared their thoughts on rising through relationships and the queen that you are.
Driven by her passion for youth empowerment, she founded Fix the Things Initiative, an NGO focused on transforming the lives of vulnerable teenagers and youth, helping them become the best version of themselves.
So if we don't connect properly with ourselves, we can't connect with others. If I don't know myself better, I won't know the other person.
The thought-provoking book emphasizes the importance of self-reflection and personal growth, a valuable resource for anyone seeking to improve their relationships by connecting properly.
You know, her passion for the youth and guests is awesome. Something that people should emulate.
Because some people live as if there is nobody anywhere. They don't have any reverence to God. They live as if they created themselves. So first of all, you begin by maintaining a good relationship with God, reverencing God, honoring God, and then understanding who you are in the first place. Because if you don't know who you are, you will not be able to relate with others.
You know, this is a project that has started since a long time, close to 3 years now, and it arose out of our passion for the girl child. And then they believe that it is relationship that takes care of every matter in this world. From the strata of family to community to every society, until the relationship is good, there cannot be peace.
In Abuja, I'm Ibrahim Dan Hamidu, NTA News.
Wife of the Kogi State Governor Sefinat Ahmed Ododo says she is making a case for the protection of the rights of women and the girl child in the state through advocacy with governments and other agencies. She said this at the commemoration of the 2024 International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women in Kogi State. Here is Ajibola Christopher's report.
Women in attendance at the occasion were drawn from the 3 senatorial districts of the state who gathered to mark the 2024 International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. Wife of Kogi State Governor Sefinat Ahmed Ododo says the decision became necessary to champion the cause for the protection of women's rights in Kogi State, while appreciating Senator Oluremi Tinubu for her support towards ensuring that women are free from violence in the country. The wife of the governor says the battle to eliminate violence against women and girls should not be left to the women alone, but for everyone.
My fellow women, arm yourself with humility and knowledge, which will help you in avoid violence. We are ready to step up our sensitization to always rehabilitate who suffer from violence.
Commissioner for Women Affairs Fatima Momo says Kogi State is taking bold steps towards addressing the issue of violence against women, pointing out that the government, under the leadership of Ahmed Usman Ododo, is determined to prioritize the rights of women and urge the men to avoid abusing women. Juliana Jonathan of the Ministry of Justice, in a lecture Understanding the Gender-Based Violence, spoke on the need for the men to remain resolute in their conduct, noting that women have equal rights in the society.
Let people be aware of their rights and let people know how they can seek redress when their rights are being trampled upon.
That we are the builders of this nation. Let's continue to respect our men, and let's continue to take care of our children, and let's continue to build this great nation, Nigeria.
Spare thoughts for the needy this Yuletide, irrespective of tribe or creed. This is the admonition coming from the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Everlasting Arm Parish in Garki, Abuja, which held its annual seasonal outreach to the needy in society, known as Tabitha Tent. Thomas Ogbetere reports that the gesture put smiles on the faces of beneficiaries.
So much expectations in the air
as the surging crowd of persons waited with anticipation for the outreach to begin. From the young to the old, everyone looked forward to benefiting from the gesture of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Everlasting Arm Parish, to provide some basic necessities for those in need: food, footwears, and clothing especially. After a pep talk and orientation on the essence of the outreach, the beneficiaries were not disappointed, as they got supplies in an orderly manner and full of gratitude.
I did not expect this, but I thank God. The person that brought this, that God will increase, will bring more increase in it, and government should help so that they will still help the poor.
It's not easy. See the way people gather here. So what thing they give us, if it take us 1 week, 2 weeks, we appreciate them for what thing they do for us. May God bless them.
For the organizers, the gesture is a social responsibility to cushion the effect of harsh economic realities.
When you have a family where everybody is struggling, you can see that is a real problem. We want to encourage as many people who can, to reach out to as many people as you can.
For the beneficiaries, such gestures keep hope alive as they look forward to a happy Yuletide. In Abuja, Thomas Ugbeteri, NTA News.
That concludes the news desk at 3 on NTA News 24. Thanks for watching. I am Dennis Adigunloye.